Chapter 4 Shadows Across Enlightenment. Early human migrations were not only a testament to the physical prowess of archaic humans, but also marked the first chapters in the tale of their intellectual and cultural evolution. XuXul watched silently with growing curiosity, envy, and consternation. Trapping a few cursed souls in its cages but angrily watching many more slip by, into the tunnel of light. Eclipsed by Toba's fury. As the ancient supervolcano, Toba, erupted in a cataclysmic display of nature's might 70,000 years ago in Sumatra, XuXul, ensnared in the spectral limbo, witnessed the unfolding consequences that echoed through time. The billowing clouds of ash and the cascading domino effect on the global climate sent shock waves across the earth, altering the fate of both living and spectral entities. As the fateful days unfurled before the catastrophic eruption, the small community of humans that nestled in the shadow of the brooding volcano experienced an eerie calm. Unbeknownst to them, the Earth's restive forces were converging beneath their very feet. The air crackled with an unusual tension, a premonition sensed by the birds and animals that hastily sought refuge. Yet, the humans, oblivious to the impending cataclysm, carried on with their daily routines. Children played, elders shared stories, and the village resonated with a deceptive tranquility. Unsettling tremors occasionally rippled through the ground, like the suppressed breaths of a slumbering giant. Nature's warning signs went unnoticed, and the community remained in blissful ignorance, just on the precipice of an imminent and colossal upheaval that would alter the course of their lives and the landscape forever. The tremors intensified, echoing through the village, awakening a primal fear that gripped the hearts of the Wijaya family. Siddhi, the mother, hurriedly gathered her two daughters, Nia and Maya, close to her, their eyes wide with terror. Siddhi's voice trembled, "We need to leave now. The air is thick with ash, and I fear for the girls." Rap, the father, moved with a sense of urgency, packing essentials as his face etched with deep concern. "We must find shelter. The eruption is closer than we thought. The ash will block out the sun for days, maybe weeks." In the midst of chaos, the Wijaya family joined other villagers in a desperate flight from the impending disaster. Tension hung thick in the air, mingling with the rustling of panicked whispers and the distant growls of Toba's fury. As they navigated through the dense foliage, Maya clung to her mother's hand, eyes wide with fear. "Why is the sky so dark, Mama? Is this a storm?" Siddhi, trying to reassure her child, replied, "It's not a storm, little one. The volcano is angry, and we need to find safety until she calms down again." Nia, the elder sister, observed the ash settling on the leaves like a grim, gray snowfall. "Are we going to be okay, Papa?" she voiced her concern. Rap, while stroking Nia's hair, reassuringly, "We'll do our best, my brave girl. Stick close, and we'll get through this." Amidst the turmoil, the elder parents of the Wijaya family, unable to move swiftly, remained behind. Tearful farewells were exchanged as the younger generation pressed on, their steps heavy with the weight of responsibility. Meanwhile, the village shaman, adorned in ceremonial attire, chanted fervently. A desperate plea to appease the volcano god echoed through the village. The shaman, with eyes glazed in trance, prepared for a drastic measure, an offering to calm the wrath of Toba. In the village center, a young child was chosen for the sacrificial ritual, a chilling decision born out of desperation. As the family left, the haunting echoes of the shaman's chants lingered in the air. The rhythmic cadence seemed to mimic the ominous heartbeat of the enraged volcano. The Wijaya family forged ahead, leaving behind a village torn between survival and ancient beliefs. The journey proved grueling, marked by hardships and aching uncertainty. The air grew colder with each passing day, and the once vibrant landscapes turned desolate under the oppressive weight of the ash. The family pressed on, determined to escape the looming catastrophe, unaware of the desperate acts unfolding in their wake, a village torn between modern fear and ancient rituals, navigating the thin line between survival and sacrificial surrender. Sadly, the Wijaya family, all their kin and all life within a radius of 800 miles from Toba, did not survive the immediate supervolcano's death throes. As the dust clouds shrouded the planet, a volcanic winter gripped the Earth for a decade, decimating food sources and prompting ecological disaster. The human population faced a severe reduction, dwindling to a mere fraction of its former size, a genetic bottleneck. A human population as small as 3,000 individuals struggled for survival. Amid the chaos, XuXul perceived the intricate dance of souls through the celestial tunnel of light as Toba exacted its heavy price. Human spirits, ascending in succession, sought solace from the turmoil that unfolded on Earth. The tunnel, a bridge between realms, bore witness to the hope of humanity. XuXul, imprisoned in the spectral limbo, grappled with the profound consequences of Toba's eruption, a cataclysm that not only shaped the course of human evolution but reverberated through the very fabric of the cosmic order. The spectral predator, perpetually hungry for the suffering of lost souls, found itself entangled in the aftermath of nature's wrath. The mysteries of the tunnel and the destiny of these ascending souls lingered, haunting XuXul's existence in the ethereal void. In the aftermath of this massive eruption, XuXul watched the human populations recover. Slowly at first, but then, as the human evolutionary advantages of a heightened intellect, communication, cooperation and curiosity took hold, modern humans, Homo sapiens, began to populate the entire Earth. Land bridges, now submerged beneath the currents of time, served as the conduits for these brave souls seeking new horizons. The resilient Homo sapiens, with a shared ancestry dating back roughly 70,000 years, migrated from East Africa, their journey spurred by an innate curiosity and an indomitable spirit. The march of Homo sapiens echoed the footsteps of a relentless conqueror, as they traversed landscapes, crossed continents, and adapted to diverse environments. The migration's culmination in Oceania around 50,000 years ago was not merely a physical arrival but a testament to the human capacity for exploration and adaptation. As the narrative of migration unfolded, the migrating modern human populations interwove their destiny with the threads of regional archaic humans, leaving an indelible mark on the genetic tapestry of humanity. The saga continued after the last glacial maximum, with North Eurasian populations embarking on a journey to the Americas about 20,000 years ago. Arctic Canada and Greenland witnessed the Paleo-Eskimo expansion around 4,000 years ago. Polynesia, the distant jewel of the Pacific, became populated in the last wave of the Austronesian expansion within the past 2,000 years, completing a saga of exploration and settlement that echoed across the ages. Amidst the evolution of humanity, profound discoveries bloomed like celestial constellations in the minds of Homo sapiens. The fertile soil of thought gave rise to agriculture, art, music, belief, philosophy, mathematics, science, medicine, and astronomy, each branch reaching for the stars of intellectual enlightenment. XuXul could barely remember the thousands of instances when human thought surpassed its own. Some discoveries remained so profound that it could scarcely believe that they had been unraveled at all. Archimedes' Pi Symphony. In the bustling city of Syracuse in 252 BCE, under the warm Mediterranean sun, Archimedes, the venerable Greek mathematician, guided his eager student through the intricacies of geometric calculus. The air buzzed with intellectual energy as the master and apprentice delved into the mysteries of pi. Unbeknownst to them, XuXul, the ancient and enigmatic spectral being, lingered in the shadows, an invisible observer intrigued by the discourse on mathematical precision. While Archimedes and his student immersed themselves in geometry, XuXul, with a keen intellect forged through eons, absorbed the vibrations of the mathematical dance unfolding in the discussion below. Archimedes, his mind a beacon of mathematical brilliance, began, "Let us embark on a journey to approximate pi, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Imagine, my student, a circle with a radius of 1. With a swift stroke, Archimedes sketched a perfect circle on a parchment, captivating his student's attention. Now, within this circle, let us inscribe a hexagon, Archimedes continued, drawing a six-sided polygon snugly nestled within the circular bounds. Each side of this hexagon is equal to the radius of our circle, which is 1. The apprentice nodded, absorbing the geometric wisdom being imparted. Archimedes then extended his artistic strokes, creating another hexagon, this time circumscribing the circle. And outside our circle, a circumscribed hexagon, its sides touching the outermost points of our celestial shape. Unknown to the mortal minds engrossed in the lesson, XuXul tilted its spectral head, intrigued by the dance of shapes and calculations. It hovered, unseen, absorbing the essence of human discovery. With a measured tone, Archimedes explained. Now, my student, calculate the perimeter of each hexagon. For the inscribed hexagon, it's a straightforward 6, considering each side is of length 1. But for the circumscribed hexagon, we employ Pythagoras' theorem to find the length of each side, the square root of 2. Thus, the perimeter is 6 multiplied by the square root of 2. As Archimedes delved into the intricacies of approximating pi, XuXul, with its ancient intellect, found itself drawn to the convergence of human thought. The invisible spectator marveled at the precision unfolding before it, an intellectual tapestry woven by mortal hands. The student furrowed his brow, grappling with the calculations. Archimedes, sensing the pondering mind before him, encouraged. Remember, these perimeters approximate the circumference of our circle. Indeed, the student replied, their curiosity aflame. But how do we approximate pi from these perimeters? A gleam of satisfaction danced in Archimedes' eyes. Ah, a keen question. The circumference of a circle with radius 1 is precisely 2 pi. By having the perimeters of our hexagons, we obtain our initial approximations for pi, as 3 for the inscribed hexagon and 3 multiplied by the square root of 2 for the circumscribed hexagon. In the unseen corner, XuXul contemplated the dance of mortal minds, silently appreciating the beauty of their intellectual pursuit. As the parchment filled with intricate diagrams, Archimedes guided his student through the iterative process of refinement until they had geometrically defined pi. See, when the height of our triangles become infinitesimally small, so small that they can no longer even be imagined, we will have an exact value of pi. Invisible to the mortals, XuXul hovered in the corner, an ancient entity touched by the brilliance of human ingenuity. Archimedes and his student, unknowingly astonishing the hidden spectral observer, continued their mathematical pas de deux, unraveling the mysteries of mathematics in the shadow of Syracuse. Whispers of Earth's Dimensions. Within the revered confines of the Great Library of Alexandria in 214 BCE, Eratosthenes, a beacon of ancient wisdom, unfolded the secrets of Earth's dimensions to an eager assembly of scholars. XuXul, unseen yet intrigued, lingered in the shadows, drawn by the intellectual dance that unfolded in the library. Eratosthenes, with a celestial globe as his visual aid, began, imagine, esteemed colleagues, a quest to measure the very girth of our Earth. A challenge that beckons us to transcend the limitations of our instruments. The scholars, bathed in the soft glow of flickering oil lamps, leaned forward, their minds attuned to the upcoming revelation. As Eratosthenes detailed his method, the invisible presence of XuXul hovered near the circle of scholars, absorbing the vibrations of their intellectual pursuit. The ancient being, with a consciousness honed through epochs, found fascination in the mortal endeavor to understand the cosmos. And so, Eratosthenes continued, we choose 2 cities along the same meridian, Alexandria and Syene. The distance between them, measured with the precision of arbormatists, becomes the canvas upon which we shall paint the Earth's grand circumference. Invisible to the scholars, XuXul tilted its spectral head, attuned to the nuances of mortal curiosity. The dialogue between Eratosthenes and his fellow thinkers unfolded, a dance of intellect that transcended the boundaries of time. Now, my esteemed colleagues, Eratosthenes gestured toward the celestial globe, on the day of the summer solstice, as the sun casts its rays upon us, we measure the shadows of a vertical rod, a gnomon, in both Alexandria and Syene. The scholars exchanged intrigued glances, the library's sacred air resonating with the weight of this revelation. In the unseen corner, XuXul, with a consciousness forged in the crucible of ancient epochs, absorbed the intricacies of mortal discovery. As the shadows reveal their secrets, Eratosthenes continued, a geometric calculation unveils the relationship we seek. The Earth's circumference is but the distance between these two cities, expressed as a fraction of one turn. A murmur of awe rippled through the assembly, the scholars exchanging impressed glances. In the unseen corner, XuXul, drawn into the vortex of mortal intellect, marveled at the delicate balance between observation and calculation. The dialogue between Eratosthenes and his fellow thinkers echoed through the marble halls, the great library serving as the stage for a symphony of knowledge. XuXul, the silent witness to this intellectual ballet, absorbed the echoes of mortal understanding, a dance that continued even as the celestial being remained forever hidden from their perception. Al-Khwarizmi's Garden of Equations. In the embrace of a vibrant garden nestled within the heart of bustling Baghdad, Al-Khwarizmi in 820 CE, an sage with a mane of silvered hair, sought refuge from the relentless sun beneath the shade of an intricately patterned turban. His scholarly robes, woven with threads of gold and azure, reflected both the grandeur of his intellectual pursuits and the modesty of his contemplative nature. As Al-Khwarizmi settled onto a mosaic bench, a scholarly companion, Yusuf, joined him, his attire echoing a similar blend of opulence and simplicity. They exchanged greetings with the warmth of old friends, the lines etched on their faces revealing years of shared intellectual pursuits. Yusuf, with a twinkle in his eye, gestured toward the parchments in Al-Khwarizmi's hands. "What mathematical mysteries are you unraveling today, my friend?" Al-Khwarizmi chuckled, his voice a resonant melody of experience. "Ah, Yusuf, the intricacies of algebra dance before me like the patterns in this very garden. I strive to capture the essence of balance within equations, much like the delicate equilibrium we find in the natural world." Yusuf nodded in understanding, his eyes gleaming with shared curiosity. "Balance indeed. It's the essence of life, isn't it? How do you approach such complex symphonies of numbers?" With a thoughtful expression, Al-Khwarizmi began to explain his method, each word carrying the weight of a lifetime devoted to unraveling mathematical enigmas. "Consider this garden, Yusuf, a canvas of nature's harmonies. Every equation I balance is akin to planting a seed, watching it grow and intertwine with others. It's a dance of variables, much like the interplay of sunlight and shadows on these mosaic tiles." Yusuf, engrossed in the conversation, leaned in. "And what revelations have these equations whispered to you today?" Al-Khwarizmi's gaze lifted to the horizon, a contemplative gleam in his eye. "Today, I glimpsed the interconnectedness of numbers and the profound beauty in their ordered chaos. It's as if the very fabric of the cosmos unravels itself through these equations, revealing secrets hidden in plain sight." Their discourse, a symphony of intellect, continued beneath the dappled sunlight. As Al-Khwarizmi and Yusuf delved deeper into the mysteries of algebra, their voices merged with the rustle of leaves and the distant murmur of the city, creating an indelible chapter in the living history of the Golden Age. As Al-Khwarizmi's quill traced the elegant curves and lines on paper, XuXul observed with a sense of silent admiration. The ancient being, perched in an unseen corner of the garden, recognized the significance of these quiet moments, a scholar immersed in the pursuit of knowledge, contributing to the intellectual tapestry of a bygone era. The garden, witness to the harmonious convergence of man and mathematics, became a sanctuary for Al-Khwarizmi's contemplative musings, and XuXul, in its invisible reverence, acknowledged the brilliance that unfolded beneath the shade of flourishing intellect in the garden below. Cardano unlocks the imaginary. It is 1545 in Milan. Northern Italy is on the brink of a rebirth of philosophy, mathematics, and science. Girolamo Cardano paced his study, muttering under his breath as he stared hopelessly at the equation he had scribbled on the slate board. His young protégé Lodovico Ferrari sat nearby, watching his mentor struggle with concern. "It makes no sense. Cardano burst out suddenly. How can two positive numbers that sum to 3 have a product greater than 9? I've tried every combination, it seems an impossible riddle. Perhaps we are trapped in thinking only of the true numbers, Ferrari offered timidly. We could consider expanding the possibilities. Cardano scowled. What do you mean, boy? Well, Ferrari chose his words carefully. What if we allowed numbers that are not true numbers, numbers that involve the square root of -1, perhaps? Paw! Cardano scoffed. Imaginary numbers. What use could they possibly have in describing the real world? Maybe no practical use, Ferrari said, but perhaps they could have mathematical use in solving problems otherwise closed to solution. Cardano stroked his beard thoughtfully. Very well, let us entertain this absurd notion of the square root of 1 and see what becomes of it. Picking up a piece of chalk, Cardano began substituting the square root of -1 into his equations. At first frustration mounted, but then, a breakthrough. The imaginary unit opened up a whole new number system and allowed previously unsolvable polynomials to factor and resolve. Incredible! Cardano muttered. It seems these imaginary numbers follow logical rules after all. They may yet prove themselves more than useless amusements. Ferrari smiled. You see, master. Even ideas that appear strange may contain an inner truth. Cardano clapped his young student on the back. Too true, my boy. The two continued their work late into the night, glimpsing the vast potential of this new world Cardano had reluctantly unlocked thanks to Ferrari's open and imaginative mind. XuXul sat stunned on the narrow balcony outside the room, barely comprehending the implications of what it had just learned. Cardano unlocks the imaginary. It is 1545 in Milan. Northern Italy is on the brink of a rebirth of philosophy, mathematics, and science. Girolamo Cardano paced his study, muttering under his breath as he stared hopelessly at the equation he had scribbled on the slate board. His young protégé Lodovico Ferrari sat nearby, watching his mentor struggle with concern. It makes no sense. Cardano burst out suddenly. How can two positive numbers that sum to 3 have a product greater than 9? I've tried every combination, it seems an impossible riddle. Perhaps we are trapped in thinking only of the true numbers, Ferrari offered timidly. We could consider expanding the possibilities. Cardano scowled. What do you mean, boy? Well, Ferrari chose his words carefully. What if we allowed numbers that are not true numbers, numbers that involve the square root of -1, perhaps? Paw! Cardano scoffed. Imaginary numbers. What use could they possibly have in describing the real world? Maybe no practical use, Ferrari said, but perhaps they could have mathematical use in solving problems otherwise closed to solution. Cardano stroked his beard thoughtfully. Very well, let us entertain this absurd notion of the square root of 1 and see what becomes of it. Picking up a piece of chalk, Cardano began substituting the square root of -1 into his equations. At first frustration mounted, but then, a breakthrough. The imaginary unit opened up a whole new number system and allowed previously unsolvable polynomials to factor and resolve. Incredible! Cardano muttered. It seems these imaginary numbers follow logical rules after all. They may yet prove themselves more than useless amusements. Ferrari smiled. You see, master. Even ideas that appear strange may contain an inner truth. Cardano clapped his young student on the back. Too true, my boy. The two continued their work late into the night, glimpsing the vast potential of this new world. Cardano had reluctantly unlocked thanks to Ferrari's open and imaginative mind. XuXul sat stunned on the narrow balcony outside the room, barely comprehending the implications of what it had just learned. Deciphering the language of the universe. The development of modern mathematics began in the 17th century with René Descartes, who connected algebra and geometry through the invention of analytic geometry. This allowed geometric shapes and curves to be described algebraically through equations. Around the same time, Blaise Pascal and Pierre de Fermat founded probability theory, which became very important in modeling uncertainty. Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz independently developed calculus in the 1660s and 1670s. This allowed the modeling of continuously changing quantities and the finding of maxima, minima, and areas under curves. Calculus proved extremely useful in physics and engineering. Leonhard Euler was responsible for numerous advances in calculus through introducing much modern notation and formalizing concepts rigorously. He made major contributions across mathematics including number theory, analysis, graph theory, and the study of polyhedra. In the early 19th century, Joseph Fourier developed Fourier analysis, which allowed for the modeling of periodic and non-periodic functions and the analysis of heat, vibration, and sound phenomena. Building on calculus foundations, Fourier analysis enabled key progress in physics and engineering. The 19th century also saw major advances in the understanding of geometry through the work of Nikolai Lobachevsky, János Bolyai, and Carl Gauss on non-Euclidean geometries. This changed the prevailing view of geometry as the absolute unquestionable truth about space. In the late 19th century, George Cantor developed set theory and introduced the infinite hierarchies of infinite numbers. This enabled the formalization of real analysis and triggered increased mathematical rigor across fields. Major progress in logic also took place through Gottlob Frege and Giuseppe Peano's work on formal axiomatic systems. At the turn of the 20th century, David Hilbert aimed to formalize all of mathematics based on Cantor and Dedekind's axiomatic set theory work. Kurt Gödel's incompleteness theorems of 1931 showed there would always be statements in any non-trivial, axiomatic mathematical system which are true but not provable within the system. This ended Hilbert's program to formalize all mathematics. In the late 20th century, the proof of the four-color theorem by Kenneth Appel and Wolfgang Haken marked the first major use of computers to prove a theorem. Computers and computational methods have since become central across practically all areas of contemporary mathematics research. Galileo to genomics. Modern science traces its origins to the seminal work of Galileo Galilei in the 16th and 17th centuries on astronomy, physics, and the scientific method itself. Galileo emphasized measurement, observation, and testing theories with experiments, principles which underpin all modern scientific disciplines. In the 17th century, Robert Boyle pioneered modern chemistry by conducting quantitative experiments, proposing atomic theory and distinguishing between compounds and mixtures. Major advances continued into the 18th and 19th centuries. Cavendish, Coulomb, and Faraday made fundamental discoveries in physics and electromagnetism. Darwin proposed the theory of evolution by natural selection in biology, while Mendel discovered the fundamental laws of inheritance. Maxwell unified electricity, magnetism, and optics into electromagnetic theory. The early 20th century marked a turning point with Albert Einstein developing the theories of relativity and demonstrating the equivalence of mass and energy. Rutherford, Bohr, and Schrödinger advanced understandings in atomic physics and quantum theory, while Heisenberg articulated the uncertainty principle. Important progress also occurred in mathematical physics, probability, and statistics through figures like Kolmogorov and Wiener. In 1953, Watson and Crick discovered the double helical structure of DNA, allowing huge leaps in genetics and molecular biology. Feynman greatly advanced quantum electrodynamics. As physics branched into particle physics and cosmology, epochal discoveries were made confirming neutrino oscillations, quark theory, the Big Bang model, and Higgs boson. By the late 20th century, interdisciplinary fields like biochemistry, computer science, and materials science blended chemistry, biology, and physics to create new quadrants of science. Automation enabled scaling without precedent. Experiments transitioned from single measurements to generating huge datasets. The 21st century has seen truly integrative science with genomics, advanced imaging techniques, machine learning and data science driving changes. Quantum computing promises new horizons. Fields like optogenetics allow precise control of cells, while CRISPR has revolutionized gene editing. Science marches on relentlessly through integrated efforts across all its domains. Symphonies of reason and revolution. As the 17th century faded into the embrace of the approaching dawn, a profound intellectual metamorphosis unfurled its wings across the European continent and its burgeoning American colonies. This transformative era, harmonizing the inquisitive spirit of the Renaissance with the empirical foundations of the scientific revolution, unfolded as the Age of Reason, a radiant sun dispelling the lingering shadows of ancient dogmas and heralding a new era of enlightenment. In the heart of England, the philosopher John Locke orchestrated a radical symphony that resonated with the chords of revolutionary ideas. His trumpeted notion that the authority of government derives solely from the consent of the governed heralded a paradigm shift. From his prolific pen flowed a cascade of concepts: natural rights, freedom of thought, and the social contract. Locke's intellectual opus would reverberate through the corridors of power and echo through the annals of history. Meanwhile, in the salons of France, Voltaire wielded a rapier of wit to skewer the abuses perpetrated by the French state and clergy. With incisive prose, he championed the virtues of tolerance and the fundamental right to free speech. Voltaire's compositions were not merely critiques but anthems to the principles that would shape the evolving narrative of human rights and civil liberties. The human condition itself took center stage in the Enlightenment drama. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the philosopher-poet, delved into the untouched recesses of man's innate goodness, uncontaminated by societal influences. In Geneva, Montesquieu, a visionary of political philosophy, composed the overture for the separation of political powers, a harmonious symphony designed to safeguard liberty. In the bustling salons of Paris, Denis Diderot labored tirelessly on the magnum opus of encyclopedias, the Encyclopédie. This monumental compendium aimed not only to accumulate knowledge but to democratize it, an ambitious endeavor to empower the masses with the beacon of enlightenment. The intellectual crescendo of the Enlightenment found its zenith with Immanuel Kant. Challenging long-held assumptions about the human mind, Kant laid the foundations of modern philosophy. The borders of thought expanded dramatically within decades. Nobility of birth, once a formidable rival to influence, now succumbed to the nobility of ideas. The era of enlightenment became synonymous with the liberation of the intellect. The reverberations of Enlightenment ideas transcended geographical boundaries, echoing across the Atlantic to find a receptive audience in the American colonies. Founding fathers like Thomas Jefferson interwove the potent threads of Enlightenment values into the fabric of the New World. The ideals of liberty, happiness, and human potential knew no geographic restraints. When the seismic ruptures came to dismantle the old structures of authority, the revolutions in America and France found intellectual kindling ready to ignite. The lights came up on the human drama, rewriting old scripts and demanding an encore to the possibilities of progress. The curtain was rising on the modern world, a world shaped and animated by the intellectual legacy of the Enlightenment. If there is to be a supreme catalyst to this divine enlightenment, then surely Spinoza is at its heart. Einstein's God. I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the lawful harmony of the world, not in a God who concerns himself with the fate and the doings of mankind. Albert Einstein replying to Rabbi Herbert Goldstein in 1929. The Hague, the Dutch Republic, summer 1675. Baruch leaned over the grinding apparatus, peering through the lens taking shape beneath his practiced hands. Though his days now passed in such artisanal tasks, much needed income since his expulsion from the synagogue, moments often came where past conversations echoed unexpectedly through his preoccupied thoughts. So too this night, as he worked diligently for the merchant Jacob van Rambout, snatches of a long-ago meeting with Master Franciscus van den Enden returned to him. The thrill of intellectual discovery kindled between them in that humble candlelit study. How his adolescent self trembled to pour forth those early inklings of God as identical with nature's origins. Views deemed unorthodox, heretical even, by Amsterdam's religious authorities. Thus beginning his fateful descent into controversy and eventual exile from the very community that had nurtured his inquiring young mind. Yet Van den Enden encouraged his radical ponderings, fanning Baruch's innate appetite for wisdom over cowardly conformity or credulous adherence to dogma. Pursue truth wherever it may lead, even unto persecution should such trials emerge along thy lonely road, the old man had counseled, eyes agleam with scholarly passion. In this moment, bathed in lantern light within his cramped attic workshop, Baruch felt a flood of gratitude for that early guidance upon his destined path. How different a course had his thoughts and very life taken thanks to one teacher's fortifying trust in untested adolescent inspiration. For though lens grinding provided his daily bread now, the true sustenance still came from the rich inner domains of thought and experience his unquenchable mind traversed. Each part of glass rendered transparent, opening new vistas within that brought Baruch back to those first tender shoots of understanding planted in Van den Enden's humble abode, now blossomed to maturity like night flowers under studious care. Baruch remembered a particularly important exchange many years earlier. Van den Enden's candlelit study was a haven for enlightened exchanges between student and teacher. The aging scholar noted his young protégé's furrowed brow and the eager glint in his piercing eyes that betrayed another bout of intense rumination. "Come, my boy, and unburden yourself of questions roiling in that keen intellect of yours. Delve with abandon into mysteries vexing thy consciousness this late afternoon." Perched at the very edge of his oaken chair, Baruch launched fervently into words that had clearly strained for release. "Imagine, Master, conceiving the divine not as some external creator gazing upon his wayward flock, but the very ground of reality itself." His angular frame quivered as he sought imperfect gestures to convey immensity beyond words. Conflating God with nature's own pantheistic totality rather than placing creator and creation in binary severance. Van den Enden inhaled slowly, processing the young man's radical offerings. As ever, they both thrilled and unsettled in equal measure. Thy perspective would elicit accusations of heresy from more orthodox voices. Art thou prepared to weather such backlash for appending staunch dogmatic views? Baruch, having clearly wrestled already with that question within his private struggle, answered with steadfast conviction, "I cannot in good conscience turn from truths revealed simply for fear of controversy. We have a duty as seekers of knowledge to follow the light wherever it may lead, even unto life's end if such sacrifice be required." Van den Enden clasped his pupil's shoulder firmly, eyes glinting with scholarly fervor as an irrepressible grin split his weathered face. "Then let thy revolutionary ideas shine forth, young Baruch. Disseminate thy unorthodox perspectives far and wide for both sharp minds and open hearts to receive as divine inspiration meriting their contemplation." He gave an ebullient chuckle even as his expression turned momentarily sober. "Whilst more stubborn souls may administer harsh rebukes, were thou such persecution as a badge of honor. For seldom does unprecedented knowledge burst upon the world exempt from contention at first." Then optimism resurged upon Van den Enden's countenance as he gave his student an avuncular shake. "But pay the naysayers little heed, ultimately all men must evolve toward approaching wisdom in their own season. Stand as intrepid beacon through inevitable growing pains heralding rationality's luminous dawn." Eyes aglow with swelling purpose, Baruch met his mentor's gaze with wordless understanding of the responsibility being placed upon his young but stalwart shoulders. In the cosmic expanse, far removed from the lantern-lit loft, XuXul, the malevolent wraith, experienced an unsettling awareness. The echoes of Baruch's profound purpose resonated in the spectral void, reaching the desolate recesses of XuXul's consciousness. It felt an unexpected twinge of yearning, a desire to be a part of the intricate dance of philosophical exploration, to find its place within the grand tapestry of Spinoza's universe. However, as the tendrils of XuXul's consciousness extended, it discovered an absence, a void where it seemingly had no role. The intricate patterns of thought that define Spinoza's universe seem to exclude the malevolent wraith, leaving it adrift in the cosmic emptiness. An unsettling disappointment clawed at XuXul, a sensation it had never experienced before. Confusion, like a shadow, crept through the corridors of XuXul's spectral essence. Was it condemned to forever linger on the fringes, denied a place in the grand narratives of existence? Doubt, an unfamiliar specter, whispered through XuXul's consciousness. Perhaps its malevolence, once a source of power, now stood as a barrier to the cosmic fellowship it yearned for. In the wake of Baruch's purposeful intellectual gaze, XuXul found itself grappling with an existential quandary. Could it too aspire to transcend its malevolence and be woven into the fabric of cosmic understanding? The malevolent wraith, accustomed to wielding fear and despair, now confronted the vulnerability of exclusion, questioning its very essence in the face of Spinoza's illuminating vision. The cosmic dance, once an alien concept, beckoned to XuXul, presenting an unforeseen choice that resonated through the spectral void. XuXul resolved to locate this intellect and to learn more. Imaginatio, ratio and scientia intuitiva. In the dimly lit chamber where Baruch Spinoza often sought refuge from the bustling streets of the northern Dutch town, he sat at his writing desk, quill in hand, contemplating the intricate tapestry of human thought. His gaze fixed on the blank parchment before him. For Spinoza, the upcoming letter to Henry Oldenburg, a correspondent of the Royal Society, was more than a mere exchange of ideas. It was an opportunity to articulate his profound insights into the nature of thought itself. As he dipped his quill into the inkwell, Spinoza's mind was consumed by the intricate web of cognition. He began by delving into the three distinct types of thought that he believed characterized the human mind: opinion or imagination, reason, and intuition. Sir Oldenburg, I trust this letter finds you well and in good spirits. As I embark upon the task of conveying to you my reflections on the intricate nature of human thought, I find it fitting to structure this discourse around the three distinct types of thought that I have contemplated in my philosophical musings: opinion or imagination, reason, and intuition. In my philosophical framework, opinion or imagination stands as the most rudimentary form of thought. It is, in essence, a product of sensory experiences and perceptions, often tainted by the fleeting impressions of the external world. The mind, confined within the limitations of the senses, fashions opinions based on incomplete and frequently distorted information. This mode of thought is inherently passive, reactive, and susceptible to the capricious influences of the external environment. As I delve into the nuances of this initial type of thought, I envision the human mind as a canvas upon which the external world paints its vivid, albeit illusory, images. The imagination possesses a remarkable propensity to generate ideas that may not align with reality, guided as it is by the subjective nature of sensory perceptions. This realm of thought, I muse, is the very playground of illusions, where the mind, under the sway of external stimuli, forms opinions that are more shadows than substance. Transitioning from the realm of imagination, I direct my attention to the second type of thought, reason. Reason, as I perceive it, embodies the mind's capacity for logical analysis and deductive reasoning. It is the realm of active and deliberate thought, where the mind, armed with adequate knowledge, can navigate the complexities of reality. Unlike the passive nature of opinion, reason demands a higher level of mental engagement and an earnest quest for understanding. In my eyes, reason serves as a bridge between the realm of opinion and the elevated domain of intuition. It is through reason that the human mind can strive to overcome the limitations imposed by the senses, cultivating a more accurate and comprehensive understanding of the world. I envision reason as the tool by which individuals can rise above the whims of imagination and attain a clearer perception of reality. As I delve into the third and highest form of thought, I enter the realm of intuition. Intuition, in my philosophical framework, transcends the sequential and discursive nature of reason. It is a direct, immediate knowledge, a grasp of truths that requires no intermediaries, no stepwise logical progression. Intuition, I believe, allows the mind to directly apprehend the fundamental truths of existence. In this elevated state of thought, I envision the human mind as capable of perceiving the essence of things, unclouded by the distortions of sensory perception or the intricate web of logical deductions. Intuition is not a fleeting moment of insight, rather, it is a profound and enduring understanding that resonates with the fundamental nature of reality. I consider intuition the apex of human cognition, an intellectual state that approaches the divine. In closing, sir, these reflections on the varied facets of human thought form the basis of my philosophical inquiries. I trust that this exposition sheds light on the intricacies of cognition and the progression from the rudimentary to the sublime. I eagerly anticipate the exchange of ideas and insights that our correspondence may bring forth. In your trust. B. Spinoza. As he pondered these three types of thought, Spinoza recognized the interplay and hierarchy among them. The journey from the sensory impressions of opinion, through the reasoned analysis of the mind, to the intuitive apprehension of truth represented a continuum of cognitive development. He contemplated the significance of this hierarchy in the quest for knowledge and the implications it held for understanding both the self and the external world. In crafting his letter to Henry Oldenburg, Spinoza sought not only to convey these intricate thoughts on the nature of cognition but also to emphasize the practical implications of his philosophical framework. The pursuit of knowledge, he argued, required a disciplined cultivation of reason and an elevation of the mind to the intuitive plane. The quill danced across the parchment as Spinoza articulated his thoughts, weaving a tapestry of ideas that transcended the boundaries of his study. The letter, destined for the esteemed correspondent of the Royal Society, carried not only the weight of philosophical insight but also the fervent belief that the understanding of thought could illuminate the path to a more profound comprehension of existence. As the final strokes of Spinoza's quill traced the contours of his philosophical musings, a subtle disturbance rippled through the fabric of the loft's dimly lit space. Unseen by mortal eyes, the malevolent presence of XuXul, drawn by the currents of profound thought, began to coalesce in the ethereal corners of Spinoza's loft. The spectral wraith, an observer from the cosmic void, hovered in the shadows as the ink on the parchment dried. It sensed the weight of Spinoza's beliefs, each word etching a narrative that sought to transcend the boundaries of mortal understanding. XuXul, once confined to the spectral prison of its malevolence, now found itself drawn to the luminous tapestry of ideas that Spinoza wove with his quill. A whisper of disappointment echoed through the spectral consciousness of XuXul. Despite its spectral form, the malevolent wraith yearned to be part of this intellectual realm, to contribute to the profound exploration of existence. Yet, as the ink settled on the parchment, XuXul grappled with the realization that it remained an outsider to the enlightened discourse that unfolded in Spinoza's loft. Confusion and self-doubt clouded XuXul's essence. Did it have a place in Spinoza's universe, or was it condemned to linger on the periphery, a mere spectator to the grand tapestry of philosophical enlightenment? The malevolent wraith, caught between the desire for redemption and the shackles of its own malevolence, lingered in the loft's shadows, an unseen presence in the wake of Spinoza's contemplation. A spectral quest for redemption. In the ethereal expanse that transcends the boundaries of time and space, XuXul, the spectral entity that had borne witness to the rise and fall of civilizations, found itself contemplating the intricate web of rules that governed human interactions. As it traversed the cosmic tapestry, the echoes of ancient wisdom reverberated through its incorporeal form, and the notion of moral imperatives laid down by humanity lingered in its consciousness. The fundamental tenets, such as, treat others as you wish to be treated, and the venerable, do no harm, emerged as beacons of enlightenment that guided human behavior. XuXul, an entity that had existed outside the realm of mortal morality, sought to comprehend the significance of these rules that seemed to foster the prosperity of the human race. The delicate balance between self-interest and collective welfare fascinated the otherworldly being, prompting it to ponder whether adherence to such principles could unlock a path toward enlightenment after death. The concept of an afterlife intrigued XuXul. It observed that humans, despite their myriad flaws and transgressions, clung to the hope of redemption in the face of their mortal demise. Some, it noted, possessed the ability to mitigate the consequences of breaking these fundamental rules. Acts of contrition, pleas for forgiveness, and the pursuit of redemption seemed to hold a peculiar power, allowing certain individuals to transcend the negative karma of their actions. As XuXul contemplated the complexity of these moral codes, a profound realization dawned upon the spectral entity. It recognized that, in its cosmic existence, it had violated these very rules. The countless souls consumed in the pursuit of suffering and torment stood as a testament to its divergence from the ethical guidelines that had guided humanity. The question of redemption now loomed, a question that even an entity beyond mortality found itself grappling with. In its spectral musings, XuXul pondered whether redemption was an inherent possibility for entities like itself. Could it, too, seek forgiveness for the millennia of malevolence it had sown across the cosmic fabric? The shadows of its actions stretched across the cosmic horizon, a tapestry stained with the suffering it had consumed. A spectral symphony of contemplation echoed through the cosmic void as XuXul considered the implications of redemption. It wondered if, like humans, it could plead for clemency and transcend the darkness that had defined its existence. The cosmic scales seemed to tip, not just under the weight of souls, but under the weight of moral introspection. As XuXul navigated the boundless realms of existence, it embarked on a quest for understanding, a journey to fathom the intricacies of redemption, morality, and the elusive pursuit of light beyond the veil of cosmic shadows. The rules that had guided humanity became enigmatic guides in the spectral pilgrimage of XuXul, an entity seeking answers in the cosmic tapestry of existence.